Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the People Around Me podcast. I am so happy to be coming back because I have a lot of good updates. So I want to say, I missed a week, and that was mainly because Thanksgiving was coming. Just a lot of things started happening. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just take this week and post on my regular time next week. So all the updates I have. So Black Friday came, and I bought a new mic. Well, I didn't buy it on Black Friday. I bought it Cyber Monday, a new mic so I could use that for podcasting. And I purchased a camera for my YouTube channel. So a new camera. And I don't know when I'm going to be using that new camera because then I still have to purchase the lens. But I'm taking it step by step so that I'm going into this new decade with equipment that I like and being able to perfect more, not even perfect, but to just make the quality of things that I've already started even better. And I'm basically almost done solidifying the team for our noir, so that's really exciting. And we're gonna have a rollout on social media this Friday, so stay tuned for that. I got the job that I really wanted. I don't know, I think I mentioned that in another video, that I might be getting a video on YouTube or on the podcast that I might be getting a job. And if I don't get that job, I will be doing all of this stuff full time. But I got a job, and I don't think it's going to throw me off from my content and podcasting because I was already doing did I say podcast and podcasting? Doing YouTube and podcasting because I was already doing that with a full-time job already. Well, internship. So I don't think it will throw me off too much. I think I would only be more excited with all my new equipment to try it out and record new stuff. I have so many ideas written down to produce podcasts and YouTube videos, and I just have to figure out how I want to do them. So I'm kind of thinking about taking a break, but I think I might take a break once December is done and get all my ideas out on video and podcast to wrap up this year, and then perfect or redo any ideas that I started in the next decade. So, and I keep saying decade because I don't want this 2020 to be just another year. I want it to feel like starting a new decade, because that's what it is. So, and I'm really happy about how I'm closing out this decade, and I hope you all are too. So, today's episode is just basically going to be about working. I know a lot of you probably are not YouTubers, podcasters, and you don't have the dream to be in the political field. So I know that some of my content, you enjoy listening to it, but you can't always relate. So I really wanted to get someone that I know and I've worked with to talk about her experience in retail. Her name is Ronnie, and her Instagram is her name, but with a bunch of additional letters. So it will be in the show notes. But I worked with Ronnie at H&M a couple of 2 years ago now, actually. And I've been following her on social media since, and I've got to see a lot of her life updates on her story. So I really wanted to talk to her about that journey, just making retail something more than just being a sales associate at H&M. And the H&M we worked at was a mess. I made a YouTube video on it that still gets pretty interesting comments to this day, and I made it 2 years ago. Because working in retail is one of those things that you think you can do just part-time, whatever. It's not that big of a deal, but there are some people who could be there doing it full-time and have aspirations of doing more in that field. So this is not necessarily to give you advice on climbing up in retail, but it's just about hearing someone else's story, because we also talk a lot about just Black people in our communities and how to make them follow their passions in a way that's not to assimilation into white culture, but what are some of the things that we just have to do to succeed, and what does it look like for people following their passions. And so I feel like we really towed a line and making sure we weren't very self-righteous, but we were also realistic about Blackness and what it means to follow your dreams. So I just hope you listen. It's a very long podcast, but pause it, come back, do whatever. Listen to it on your cleaning day, listen to it on a long bus ride somewhere. So, yeah, I hope you all enjoy. And a few of you have been DMing me about your thoughts about episodes. I really do appreciate it. I think I need to start reading my DMs like at night or something. Because if I read it like during the day on the move, I can't dedicate the time to it like I want to. But with all that being said, I'm not going to give like a hot take today or a quote. I just want you to enjoy the episode. And then, I'll come back in where I need to. So without further ado, let's get right into me and Ronnie. We were actually talking at her job, so that's where the background noise came from. But again, I feel like I'm biased, and the background noise is cute because it adds character. So yeah, let's jump into my first question. So I think, like, in my vision, the first thing that I would want to start with was, like, what was your first job, or when did you start working?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So
retail or just like anything?
Oh,
okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's my first job was CVS.
I didn't expect you to say that. I knew it was gonna be something like weird, but yeah. Okay, go.
CVS. I was 17, and then I left there and started working at a restaurant. Like, I was doing both. I was still in high school.
Okay, you were still in school.
Yeah. I think that was 17, so it's probably like my junior year going into my senior year. So that was my first job. Then the second job was the restaurant, and then my third job was H&M.
That was your third job?
That was my third job.
Okay.
It's so funny because I actually got fired from my second job before I started working at H&M. Literally like a month before I started working at H&M, I had gotten fired.
But then when you were at H&M, didn't you have another job? Because you weren't full-time, were you?
Trying to think. Oh yeah, you're right. Okay.
I remember.
Yeah.
I did this, I did that. And I'm like, what is she doing? Where is she going? Where do you live? Because this was far.
Yeah, it was. No, it really was. It was like an hour and a half away from my house. Like, it was all the way on the other side of the world. Yeah, I was working at a sunglasses store. You know,
I thought, were you working at Carolina's Kitchen?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I ate there a lot.
Okay, because I could have sworn when you were at a restaurant, you said something like that, and then I just...
Cadillac Ranch?
That's what she said. It started with a C.
Yeah,
I knew it started with a C.
So that was my second job. That's what I got fired from before H&M.
What is it like to be fired? I've never been fired.
I've been fired twice.
Oh my God.
My first time, I was angry. Like, I wasn't even sad. Like, I was so angry because, and it was weird because every manager was in the meeting. Like, not one manager missed it. The GM was there. Like, every manager was there. And they're all just sitting in a row. Like, they're all judging me. And I'm sitting on the other side, and it was completely awkward. Like,
but was this after a situation? Like, you did something and they were like, okay, we all have to, like, get her out of here.
Okay, yeah, I did do something, but it was, like, in retaliation to someone else doing something to me.
Okay.
I don't, like, just start doing shit to people for
Exactly.
nothing, you know?
Exactly.
But, yeah, it was, like, a bumping situation. Me, I bumped her a little too hard.
I can imagine. Let's give some people a beginning and a now. I feel like now you're probably a little more different.
Yes.
But before, I feel like, I don't want to say you were impulsive, but you were very authentic. And when you are authentic and I guess you don't like code switch for whatever environment you're in, things happen.
Yeah. It took me a little while to code switch. I didn't really teach myself how to do that until a little toward the end of H&M and then the beginning of the job that I started after H&M, which was a restaurant. And the restaurant was fine dining, so I had to. Like, I was like, all right, Ronnie, you got anger issues or something. Like, you got to pull your shit together. So that's kind of like when I started to learn code switching and then kind of thinking before I react. It's still a work in progress. It definitely has gotten a lot better from working at restaurants. I'm still kind of like very impulsive sometimes, but it's still kind of toned down compared to where I was in the beginning. So, and I'm still working on it though.
Because I definitely don't think it's a bad thing, but I think, again, and this kind of went into one of my questions of like, what do you think you wish people knew, especially interacting with people who work in retail and work in serving? Because, you know, I've had those experiences too, where like when we worked at H&M, I did learn a lot about other people in general, and people don't get that experience, because once you learn that, now you know how to treat other people. So when people don't have those experiences, they just walk around, they're very entitled in these spaces, no matter how much money you have. You could have $0 in your bank account. If you walk into any store where you think people are supposed to serve you, your ego is
it's people, no matter how much money they have, definitely think they're entitled. I wish people would like understand that whether we're serving you like in a restaurant or even in a clothing store, it's not always our fault. You know, like I understand that you can be angry and you want to take your frustration out on me, but then when I take my frustration out on you because you're doing it to me, it's a problem. So I wish people would just take a step in my shoes. Like I'm on my feet like 8 hours a day. I'm doing like 20 things in every minute. I have like 1,000 things going on in my head. Like, especially now, since I'm a stylist assistant, she throws me like 30 things at once, and I have to remember it because she will forget. Whether it's like a customer's name or to pick it up next week or something. So if there's a mistake happening in the middle, don't just react. And I understand sometimes, because I used to be a reactor before just thinking about it, and I wish I wasn't that way, but it made me like realize, okay, you know, get it together. And I wish people on the outside, as far as customers, clients, whatever, would understand that as well. Like, we are trying our best. Like today I had a customer who picked up something from Black Tux. Black Tux is a rental service that Nordstrom offers for people to like rent a tuxedo for any occasion. The alterations were wrong. They actually switched his pants with somebody else's. Black Tux is a whole different thing from the people that actually work on the sales floor. So they're coming up to me, bitching at me about it, and it was during the peak of rush hour. I have like 3 alterations in front of me for different people that I gotta remember, like whose is which. I had another customer that the stylist threw to me to ring up, like, and then they just coming from the side, like, yeah, blah, blah, and I'm like, okay. I was like, yeah, what did you talk to? Like, they're like, I know it's Black Tux. I'm like, yeah, okay. I was like, well, did you pick up your alterations here? You know, like, it's just, I understand you spent a lot of money to rent the tux or whatever, plus the alterations, but at the same time, you see that I have like a line. You see that we're short-staffed. Like, it can be anything. So just think about that before you start like bitching at someone in service, because we're definitely trying our best.
And I think what people have to learn too is like, things are not the end of the world. And I think that can go for whatever it is. Like, this point in time, whether this affects you for a day, a week, that 20 years from now was a past week. And I feel like some people, and then I think it's an important lesson for people who are just anxious. You learn that when you're an anxious person. You learn that when you are impatient. You can learn that in a variety of ways. That it's never the end of the world. So did you already know that you wanted to be in like fashion, styling, or were you still trying to figure out what your passions were? Or your passions could be different from now, and I just don't know.
No, they're still the same.
Okay.
I was actually still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. It's so funny. Originally, before I graduated, my 11th grade year, at that time, I wanted to be a nurse. So it's like completely different from like what I ended up liking. So yeah, that changed. I knew I always liked to look good in my clothes. I'm not gonna give you like that cliche answer where people are like, yeah, I was wearing like Chanel, I was looking at magazines, blah blah blah. No, I was just brought up to dress nice, look good in your clothes. Like my grandmother, she used to take my brothers to go get their suits tailored. So I was kind of in that world, but it wasn't like, oh yeah, I want to do this. Like, I like this. I just knew I liked feeling good in my clothes, and I liked my clothes to make me feel good. And that's kind of how I got into it. And then when I started working at H&M, I realized that I also liked making other people feel good in their clothes. Whether it was like they were someone that just lost weight, or they were someone that just gained some few pounds, or just had a baby. Like I liked making people confident in what they were wearing and make them feel better within themselves. And that's kind of how it kept going. And I've been hooked ever since.
Because I feel like one of the things is that when I'm meeting people and just talking to people in DC, or just seeing different people in DC, or people, like just black people in general, especially black people who come from like low income and poor backgrounds, it's so hard to find your passions and actually feel like they can come true. And doing the hard stuff it takes, like almost not being yourself at work in order to kind of get to your dreams. So I don't know if you see that often. Like, how do you see people in your lives like trying to find their passion and pursue it? And because I feel like you're doing a good job at it, but like we all know people who are struggling to do the same thing.
Okay, so honestly, for the small handful of friends that I actually have that are black, for the most part, they are following their dreams, or they're trying to. Like, even within my brother, he worked at security for the longest, and now he's starting to write his own like little mini television show that he wants to get started. Okay. And it's just the little support, whether it's like sparking up a conversation to find out what they're passionate about or what they really like, and then just like trying to give them confidence to like pursue it and keep it going. Going back to my brother, he stopped writing for like, I want to say a week or so, and then last week when I was home, I'm like, yeah, so what's going on with your writing, how's it going, whatever. And he's like, yeah, I just couldn't find like motivation or inspiration. And then that's when we just started talking about like random stuff that's happening now. And next thing you know, 2 days ago, he's like, yeah, I started writing again, I finished that. And I'm like, that's good. I also have a friend who writes poetry. He is an amazing poet, and he wants to write a book of like 6 poems. They all tie into each other, but they're all pertaining to like misrepresentation of black people, all of that. And at the same time, he wants to make a visual of it first, of him actually speaking it, a scene to explain it. And he just couldn't think of anything. So then he came to me, and I just started like throwing ideas at him. And now he has like scenes for all 6, and he just needs to get it recorded, get somebody to video it. And it's just about that little bit of support. It'll go like a long way. Like,
and yeah, that's definitely what it sounds like. That motivation from someone who also believes in their dream, but it's just like a little creative conversation. And I think one of the things I see is that right now the only creativity I see when it comes from just like black people from our communities is just music. So people are like, okay, let me record my music, and I'm like, yeah, you can do that, but then it's so many other things you could be doing too.
You don't have to follow the same path that everyone else is doing. They're making like a quick come up, but don't do it because you want to just make a quick come up. Do it because you actually love it, because when you love something, it's not even going to be like work. Like, I work as a stylist assistant 8 hours a day. Sometimes I come in an hour early before I'm supposed to, just to get stuff done. And it's work, but throughout my day I have so much fun, like helping these people, running around. Like, I am running around like a chicken without its head. And I keep telling everyone that. But at the same time, I have so much fun. So even at the end of the day, when I'm tired, I'm like, oh, this was a good day. Like, I'm not too drained. Like, I can still go out, you know, and still, like, happy after work. It's not like something that I'm dreading to come into, and then I'm like, no, I don't want to fucking go in there the next day.
Because that's the key. I feel like so many of us have jobs we hate. Like, we hate it. We don't show up. We don't call out. No call, no show. No call, no show. And then you don't even put your 2 weeks notice because you just hated it. The job is disposable, and you are disposable to the job.
Right.
So, and of course, you're making minimum wage or even lower than that. And it's one of those things where it's like, how are we supposed to find self-worth if we can't really find what we want? And sometimes when we gotta, the way we find what we want to do is like, you really gotta be motivated. Because like, there's nothing else. No one's gonna really hand you your dream. Like, you really gotta work for it, find it, and pursue it. Like, I don't even know. Like, pursue it just effortlessly.
Yeah, and I also feel like it's about who you're surrounding yourself with. Like, I know people that is literally like, you know, like not doing anything in life right now. And then I know people that hang around them that also isn't doing anything in life right now. But then they see me and they're like, dang, you always have a job. You're always doing this. You're always doing something, blah, 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 blah. And it's just that little thing. Like, I send most of my friends that I know, like, really need a job or something, emails or like texts with links of jobs that I know are hiring or jobs where I know someone so they can get a foot in the door, you know. So you got to surround yourself with people that are also like want to go forward, even if it's like the one person out of the group that can motivate the rest of them.
Exactly. But when it even comes to in like certain communities, it's so hard sometimes because I don't think people, their representation is there now. I feel like it is. Like, if you could look on TV to an extent, like, people who are really doing the jobs that you don't even know were jobs, like, 2 years ago. Yeah. Like, when it's tour managers, there's so many things to do other than being the one artist. Right. You know? So, at this point, I'm just like, okay, so why aren't people kind of finding that drive? And then it just makes me think, like, okay, I don't always think you're born with it. Because, you know, I'm going to ask you later on, like, what is your zodiac sign to figure out if that has any connection. But I don't want that to be the only thing. Like, I really wanted to, I want to be able to say anyone could be able to pursue their dreams. But now I'm looking like, I don't know.
I have to disagree on that one. I think anyone can pursue their dreams. They just have to believe that they can. And I think this is like so I'm going to quote one of the poet that I know. He has this poem about addictions, and self-doubt is one of the addictions that he put in the poem. And I completely agree with that. Some people are addicted to self-doubt, you know, and sometimes it takes a while for them to get out of it. But they might just need that little push to get their mind right, you know. And that's also why I say that it's also who you surround yourself with. Because if the friends you have now aren't motivating you to try to be better, try to do better, then you're gonna always be stuck in that place.
Or if you're that friend.
Because
that's the thing. I'm like, sometimes the way we speak, we're always like, you know, the people that are around you, they may be negative, but what if you're that person? I feel like sometimes you got to call people out, like, you are contributing to the issue.
Right. That's me, because I'm the little firecracker. But yeah, no, like, I completely agree. It all ties in together. Like, it's every single part is a connection to people having self-doubt, like always thinking, yeah, this is just it, this is gonna be my life, I'm just gonna make a come up from this. Because a lot of these rappers, they can't rap, you know. Exactly. Like, I hate the music. Like, I hate it. Like, I hate it. And it's sad that nobody, not their friends, like, tells them, like, yeah, look, this ain't it. Okay. Exactly. I understand if you want to be in the music industry, you can do so many other things. Like you said, like, you don't have to rap, you know. You can be a producer. You can produce beats. I know people that produce beats because they can't rap, you know. it takes a village for one job. Regardless, there's so many moving parts in each job that you don't have to do that one main job that's in the spotlight. You can do something behind the scenes.
And I also think when it comes to people doing different jobs and figuring out what they want to do, especially when it comes to retail, a lot of people think like, okay, like, especially when we worked at H&M, there are people doing it part-time, there are people doing it full-time. And I don't know if people get into these jobs and are thinking about their next move, especially within retail. I feel like a lot of people are doing it, okay, I'm gonna do this now and then leave and try something else. I can't speak to the same for fast food. Maybe I'll find someone to speak to that, like how do you like climb up in fast food. But I think retail is a place where you could really climb up and you don't have to stay within the same thing. Like you don't have to stay within H&M and then be a manager and then be a regional director. You can literally move around, because you were in Bloomingdale's for a short point of time.
Literally short. It's like 3 weeks.
I was like, I'm gonna visit you, and you were like, I'm not there no more, and I was like, what?
See there, I just realized that working in shoes just wasn't my thing. I don't like touching feet, and you had to help them take off their shoes, put the shoe on, put the little booty on for them. Like they wanted you to do everything for them, and that just wasn't me. I also feel like people need to realize that certain things aren't them. Just like how I realized working in women's shoes was not for me. I can't work with feet. People need to also realize that. Retail is definitely like a stepping stone. Like, whether you want to stay within retail or even jump out of it, you meet so many people, so many different people, because the CEO of a company still has to shop for clothes, so it's all about trying to make connections, trying to be as nice as possible, trying to be as accommodating as possible, and just sometimes even going like a little extra mile, like whether it's like bringing them a size up and a size down just in case. You never know, they will remember that. Like last year I was still working at H&M as just a regular sales associate, chilling. You were
in the same location, right?
Yeah.
Because now it's closed, right?
Yeah, they didn't shut that down.
Yeah.
They shut it, yeah.
Because when I walked by, I couldn't believe, because it was 3 floors.
Right.
And it did kind of have to go. Because even working in big stores like that, and you're like, because we weren't really meeting the goal every day. So it was like, okay, if we keep not meeting the goal, does this mean the store will close? I'm like, H&M is never going to close. And then when it closed, I was like, oh, well, it did.
I think that was a big thing. I think not meeting the goal, as well as rent there just being like super expensive, they were like, it's not worth it. And then because it's surrounded by so many competitors that have like higher end stuff, better quality stuff,
just one floor.
Right, just one floor, that kind of like push business away as well.
And people would steal from there a lot. I don't think people stole from the other stores like they did from H&M.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, they got us like every day for thousands of dollars.
And it was just like, one of the things where, I wasn't there a lot to hear these conversations, but I was like, well, are the managers talking about this? Like, what are the numbers? Are they doing calculations after? I mean, maybe the people who were like stocking the merchandise sometimes, but it was just one of those things where you came to work and left, and no one was saying like, well, this is the future of the store. Like, there was really no buy-in for the staff to actually care about the store.
That's true. I also felt like everybody always knew that the store was going to close down, which is probably why they didn't never talk about it, because they didn't want to disperse from each other, because everybody there was so connected and so close. So they probably didn't want to put negative thoughts in their head, oh my god, we're gonna leave each other. I feel like that might have been something. Also, I feel like managers probably talked about it amongst themselves, because if I can recall correctly, managers, or either the store manager, knew that the store was closing, I think I want to say a little time before they actually announced it to the people that work there that they were shutting down and they had to like start picking like a different store to go to. Mm-hmm. My thing was I left honestly like right before the store was closing. Mm-hmm. I put in 2.5 years there.
Yeah.
Going to a different location, not like ever officially being full-time, but always getting my full-time hours there at the store I was at. I wasn't about to start over from scratch with a company that I was like, I didn't put my heart and soul into this one store, and now you're telling me I gotta like do this shit all over again for at least like what, another 6 to a year? Like, yeah. So I was just like, you know what? I'll take my chances. I can kind of finesse what I know to kind of get hired in a different store or brand, and that's kind of honestly what happened here. To be honest, yeah. So it works out in my favor. So I was happy.
And I also think that's a good mind state. And I'm even trying to think like that too. It's like every time you move to a different job, you should always be trying to find the next position up.
Yeah.
And just try to advocate for yourself to make even a little more money each time you move. Because that's why people start moving jobs anyway. So like some people that I know, if they're working somewhere for like 6 years, they're doing that, and then wherever they move, say if they at that job they're not going to get a promotion, well, you're not going to give me a promotion, I'm going to leave somewhere else and get the promotion. Yeah. So that's what people do really when they switch jobs.
Yeah, and that was my mindset with that. I was like, you know what? Fuck y'all, okay? I done gave y'all my tears of blood, almost fought like all of y'all customers for y'all.
Exactly.
Like, I was like, yeah, I'm over this. It's definitely a hard job. Even because I never liked serving, I would never do it. But even just working like at the front desk of a restaurant, hard job. Okay, people will yell at you for everything, and it sucks because you're the first face they see and the last face they see. So if they start off angry with you, they're gonna be angry at that table, and next thing you know, they're going to be writing a Yelp review. They're going to be bitching about the food. They're going to want a discount. They're going to want this. They're going to want that. They're going to want to complain. Like, it's not for everyone. That's also one of those jobs where you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it.
And I definitely think at restaurants, like I always have this conversation on and off, is because so especially when you're a server, you don't get paid like minimum wage. You have your own like what, $4 or something wage.
Yeah,
you
it's like
tips.
A server minimum wage. Yeah.
But at the same time, I think that only exists because who would want their server making more than them? And I think that's the only reason why. You could have servers making whatever $15 an hour on top of their tips. Why not?
Right.
Why not? And I feel like the only reason why not is because it's just like, okay, now they're making all this money, and now, you know, servers get to like have vacations in Cancun because they got all this money, and then I feel like there's just something when it comes to, I feel like the idea of, it goes into like the idea of what you think someone should get paid for that work versus the hard work they're actually doing. So I think that's what goes into it. But of course, when you own a restaurant, if you're paying people more, then that's more of your money. So it probably goes into that too, and just keeping the place alive. But yeah, I always feel like with certain work, just does not get the money it deserves.
That's completely true. And it sucks because they get paid like what, $4 an hour, and if they don't make tips that night, then what?
Exactly.
You know, like, those $4 is not going to help them at all. So I completely agree. I wish servers got paid more. I wish they actually got paid just minimum wage plus their tips. What I like is there's this restaurant that's opening down at Navy Yard in January, or I think late December. I got offered a position there. What I like about them is that they do a piece of the pie is what they call it. Everyone that works in there gets same hourly, right? Okay. But we all get a share of the revenue that comes in for that week. Okay. You know? So, I mean, yeah, the percentages are going to be different based on where you're working. But but you're still getting a piece of that restaurant.
Yeah.
So their thing is they're not even going to put a tip section on the
bill.
On the bill. So there is nothing. Once you pay, you're done. And I think that also gives people motive to like work harder and try to enjoy what they're doing so they can sell more, which also goes into like retail, commission. You have to like selling. You have to be good at it. You have to be friendly. You have to know how to spark up a conversation to get them to sell more. And then you get a piece of that. And I wish most restaurants did this because I think it would kind of give everyone a better place to work. Like they would kind of know going in that they're going to get some money on their check.
Okay, so I wanted to jump into this part of the interview and say that this is where you toe the line of assimilation versus what is the state of some Black people in the world today, where we are not ready to get certain jobs, whether it be at Chick-fil-A or in corporate America, wherever, nonprofit, wherever it is. And it's like we are not getting the same reality check that it takes to have some of these jobs. People aren't telling us what it's really like or what the interview process is going to be like. People aren't really empowering us to, feel motivated when we do these job interviews, because the motivation to go to the interview is that I need this job, I want the money. But when we're only motivated by that, in some cases, we don't outperform the competition. And I think for me, I learned quickly in high school how to interview. I had a bunch of people teaching me that, how to interview, how to get yourself ready for these things. And my knowledge has evolved since then. But there are a lot of people who were not interested in learning that stuff, and I'm not mad at them. But how do you get people interested in that? How do you get people to buy into what you need to do, into the code switching you have to do? And I don't think it's right, but it's a conversation we need to have. Okay, what kind of have to be in place, whether it's in high school or whatever, teaching us how to go into the workforce field instead of having to, because sometimes you might have an interview with someone and they might need the job, but what they're saying on the interview just is not adding up. So you can't hire them. Like, you just can't. And it makes me sad because I'm like, I want people who need a job to get the job.
Yeah, right.
But they also need to like bring that other part in of being able to actually do the job.
Yeah, I feel like I wish there was more opportunities in school to like kind of better train people for interviews. I mean, I know they had like, professional development or something. But not everyone had that course,
Yeah.
Not everyone had the opportunity to do that. And I wish that there was something that was mandatory for kids in high school to take a course so they can know what to wear in an interview, how to act in an interview, how to answer questions, what people might throw at them. And even if they don't, if they're your friend and you want to send them something so they can apply somewhere, just give them, be like, look, I know this is you, but this is how you need to come in. Especially if you know them like the back of your hand, you gotta be like, look, I'm gonna need
pull them aside.
Right, I'm gonna need you to get that haircut. I'm gonna need you to not be like jaw like Guillermo, real life. I'm gonna need you to bring it in. Like when I'm with my friends, I'm cursing like a motherfucker. Like I'm using all the slang in the world. I'm ratchet. But when I'm here, I'm just like, yes, like,
high pitch.
Yeah, like I'm a different person.
Yeah.
And I feel like that also goes back to code switching.
Yeah, it's definitely a line between wanting to be your authentic self. Like, I feel like, of course, when it comes to getting a job, there's a part of just Blackness and just whatever, like DC culture, New York culture, that you just can't bring in, and it's frustrating. But sometimes it just makes you work better when you are just able to just switch regardless of if it's like in a black space versus a white space. Yeah. And you just got to be more professional. Right,
because of where you're at. Like, I get black clients too. So it's like, it all depends on where you're at. And I feel like people just have to think about that, specifically Black people, because I know a lot of us love that slang, you know, like real life. I know they feel me out there, for real. But yeah, and you know, even if you gotta like help your friend with it, even if you're that one friend that knows how to do it, and you know that your other friends don't, like just kind of switch it up. Like I do that for my sister all the time. Like there are times when I switch up on her, like in the middle of a conversation, and she's like, "What the fuck?" Like, and I'm like, "You gotta be ready. Like you really have to be
multifaceted,
right?" And so it's just about like throwing it in there, trying to help them, you know, even if you need to like find a coach for them, just take the extra step, because you know they need the job, but you also know how they are in their personality and how they talk, and you know going in like that they might not get it. But at the same time, it's always stay true to yourself. Like sometimes enough is enough. Like don't go overboard trying to change your whole personality just for one job. You know, there's boundaries.
Okay, so I have two more questions. One is, so what are your thoughts on like gentrification in DC and like how DC has been changing for the past, like, I guess decade? I think the more and more, especially the research and with the job that I'm going to be doing, I'm just confronted with even more research on how at literally any moment any neighborhood in DC could just be bought and people could just be pushed out, because the land, like what it is now, is the rate that it's at. There are a bunch of rich people who could afford that in no time. Right. So it's just
but
like,
none of us can.
Yeah, so it's just like, I guess being that you're from here, how have you seen it change? Because I've only seen it for 4 years, going to school here, so that's all I can speak to.
Yeah,
but you could probably speak to more to it.
So it definitely has changed a lot. So I'm from Southwest, born and raised. You know, and even just like the wharf alone change. Whenever I mention that to someone, they're like, "You're only 21." I'm like, "Yeah, but I have older brothers, older sisters that I was with hanging out before these tore it down and tried to remake it into this condo, $2 million penthouse, like, you know." And it sucks, because what about the people that were there, you know, like, and then for some people that are DC natives, and me being from Southwest, it's like that was historic, you know. I have memories in that old thing. Like, okay, you can remodel it, you know, update it, whatever, but don't tear it down and then completely redo it and then make it so expensive that the people who were living there before can't even afford to live there now. And it's really sad, and it's frustrating, because it's like, what are they gonna do? And you never know if like the homeless people you're walking past is by like one of those situations, you know, like, and there are like a ton of homeless people in DC, like, and it's just sad. And especially when it gets cold outside, it's just like, where's your sympathy? Where's your empathy for them? Like, what about these people on the street that are freezing to death because, I'm just saying, like, because their home got gentrified and they couldn't afford to live there anymore, and then they got evicted and all this other stuff, and not even be affordable for us to stay in the city that we love so much. And I can go into like a whole thing. Like, I have had this conversation. I get like emotional with these conversations. I had this conversation before with somebody, and I just feel like it's disrespectful.
Yeah. So, but the only thing is that I think some of it that can stop it is figuring out how, I guess, we find our passions and just be able to sustain our neighborhoods ourselves.
Yes. No, definitely. I completely agree. Like, so many people make these come-ups, and then they forget about where they came from, and then their whole entire city is like different. Yeah. Like, I don't know what these local people in DC that have come up have done for the community to like keep it the same, but from what I see, they ain't done shit.
Nothing.
But yet we love them so much, and we praise them so much. I mean, not me, but you know, like, it's like, what Like, who's going to tell these people to step in and do something?
Because one of the biggest argument is like, people is like, I worked hard for this money, so I get to do whatever I want with the money. And in reality, it's like, no. You worked hard. Everybody works hard, but you get the money in different places. And a lot of times when you get the money off of your likability, you're getting that from people. So you also, we are paying you for your art or whatever it is, but you can also give us back something, especially to the community you're from, that gave you this authentic culture too.
Exactly, to show to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And what do they think when they see that their communities are being gentrified?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, do they care? Like, it's upsetting because it's like, we support them,
right? And I think it just is calling. I think this is going to be just a moment in history where it takes some time to get there, but I think people are going to start to realize that and just support different things. And
I hope so. I really do, because it's sad. And it's happening too much, too often, too quick, like back to back.
Okay, so then my next question is, I can't remember when you celebrated your birthday, so I don't know your zodiac sign. And I'm trying to guess, and I have some like guesses, but I don't want to be wrong. So, I don't know if I should say my guesses, because if I say my guesses, it's going to be like, oh, you're like, I'm wrong and I don't know. But if I don't say my guesses, then it's just like, okay, I'm not like projecting. Okay, so I think my 3 guesses are 1, Capricorn, 2, Virgo, or I want to say what mine is, which is Gemini, but I would have known.
Can I ask you a question? Mm-hmm. Why those 3?
So the Capricorns that I know of, like from social media and stuff like that, are so hardworking and they know where they want to get to in life. Like, they just do it. Like, they're where they at, and you just know.
Like my Nikes, just do it.
They just do it. And then Virgo is because I think Virgos kind of like, they have, especially when it comes to style, you can kind of tell when someone's a Virgo because they're usually known for being put together. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, hey, maybe Virgo. I'm a Virgo rising, and a lot of people would be like, oh, you're very put together and stuff, and like a perfectionist, when I don't necessarily see myself as that.
Yeah.
So I just was like, okay, when I found that, I was like, that makes sense. And then 3rd, Gemini is like, I'm a Gemini. I don't know. I don't know if that plays into like kind of why I'm hardworking, but I feel like I have like a vision, and I have a lot of things I like to do, like whether it's a podcast, a YouTube channel, actually having a job. Like, I just like to do all these things. So
I'm an Aries.
You're an Aries. Okay.
March 27th.
I feel like I could get that, because if I didn't, I personally don't like Aries, because Aries, this is why, because I don't know Aries' work ethic, but their personality, I'm just like, I can't do it. Like, maybe if we went to a party together, I'll be like, yeah, you gotta go have your party over there, I'm at my party over here.
And but why is that? Is it because of your, like, what is it?
Aries just have a lot of personality, not like a lot of personality in a bad way, but like, again, like, I'm a very introverted person. I can go days without talking. I don't really care. Like, I don't care to interact with people. And usually when I see Aries, I'm just like, they got a lot of energy, and they're ready to talk, they're ready to do all of that, and I'm just like, today's not my day. But I'm a good timing person, so like, if I meet you at the right time, we have the conversation at the right time, then you wouldn't even know that I don't like talking to people.
Right.
So that's kind of one of the things, is I usually meet Aries at a bad time.
Yeah, I definitely talk a lot. I can talk for hours, like, without stopping. Yeah, I can see you wanting an Aries to like move away from you at a party, because I am definitely a wild cracker, like, and don't get any alcohol in me, because then. But if I'm at a party, then of course there is alcohol in me. But yeah, like, you honestly though. I should have guessed Aries from that situation at H&M. I should have guessed. Like, she could be an Aries. But do you know, like, your moon and your rising? No. So when you were like, I'm a Virgo rising, I was like, huh?
You have to, this is what you have to do. You have to ask your parent what time you were born.
Okay.
And then from there, you could look it up and then figure it out.
So then would I be a Pisces? Because isn't the Pisces is before Aries?
No.
Okay.
That's not how it works. That's why I said you have to look at the time you're born. You put it in your natal chart. Like, you can Google it. And you just type in the time you were born, your birthday, of course, and the location. So the city, and then it tells you your sun, moon, and rising, and it also tells you a bunch of other things, but those are like the main things. And your rising is what you come off as, so what people might guess that you are. And then your moon is your emotions, so like how you just process your emotions. Like
maybe I'm a Gemini because my emotions.
You could be. Every time when people tell me they're a Gemini moon, I'm just like, I feel bad for you. Because this is my personality, and I couldn't imagine if it was like my moon. Because I just really wanted people to know just all the different paths they could take. Because I feel like if people are just listening to me, they only know, like, okay, like, she's interested in political stuff, like, and this is the career she's making. But there's people doing a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. And I know you want to go, and I keep talking. But even just like as far as going different routes, whether you want to keep working in clothing, I want to be a stylist, but styling is just a part of what I want to do. Like I also want to get in like the PR side of it. I want to work for a company on the corporate side, like high up. You can never stop growing. You can honestly now make your own job in fashion. That's all I have to say.
I feel like it's really good because people don't know these little things, and you get it, of course, from experience, but you also get it by talking to other people.
Yes.
And figuring out what they know, what they did. And I think not everyone is kind of like, I don't want to say brave enough in a bad way, but like brave enough to be like really create their own thing and figure out what to do, especially like Black people. You don't know what you're allowed to do,
right?
And I think that I'm learning that every day, what I'm allowed to do.
Right. Like also a quick tip, guys who's listening, if you're working in retail and you can't get sales, it's easier than you think. Like just be confident in whatever you're trying to sell them. If they're getting something altered and they're like, do it look good? And you're like, oh yeah. But and they can tell that you're second guessing it, they're not going to trust your opinion. But if you're quick with it, like, yes, that looked good. No, doesn't look good. Like you need to switch that. I have that. This is that. Then they're like, all right, she knows what she's talking about. Like mainly trial and error. When I first started working with the stylist, I was doing this guy's alterations, and she didn't give me any training. Like the people here hyped me up so much to her. She was just like, oh yeah, she'll learn, and just threw me out to the wolves.
Wow.
And so I'm in there doing these alterations, putting them in the iPad, and he's like, yeah, do you think we should take it up here? And I'm like, yeah, I think that looks good. And then they move it again, and they're like, what about that? And then I'm like, oh yeah, Lee, that might work.
Yeah, to everything.
And then it got to a point where like the stylist noticed, and she's like, you gotta be confident. She's like, even if you don't know, be confident. And she's with the main thing that I've learned from her is that in retail, if you mess up, you can always fix that mistake, no matter what it is. It's just a quick fix. Even when she told me that was about an alteration, but it's literally always a quick fix. It's not the end of the world. Each day you're gonna learn something different. Each day you're gonna grow from what you learned from the past day. My first week of being an assistant, I was overthinking everything. Everything. Literally. She would say one thing to me, and then I'm asking like 20 questions back to her. It's just like basically trying to get what she meant, and she meant like the simplest thing, and I'm just like, oh, okay, that's what you meant. Oh, yeah.
And do you think, like when it comes to getting new jobs, because my thing the advice I give to people like kind of in my industry is like to never really just blanketly apply. Like don't just send in your application without even like maybe visiting the store first, having talked to someone. But that could be different in this case.
Honestly, no, I completely agree. Before I applied to Nordstrom, I honestly read reviews about it. I went on Glassdoor, looked up the positions I eventually want to get to and that I was going to apply to, read reviews. I specifically looked up the store that I knew I was going to apply to. I came in. I didn't shop. I'm not rich, so yeah. But I came in. Everybody was like so friendly here, which at first I thought was just like a Nordstrom retail thing, doing it to customers. But no, they're really like nice as shit here. But anyway, yeah, I feel like you do need to do like some type of research on the place you're applying. Like, it's okay to, even if you want to like apply and then do it, that's fine. But just also kind of prepare yourself for the type of environment that you are trying to get yourself into.
Yeah, because I feel like people get a lot of applications, so they really need to know why to read yours.
Yeah.
And I think anybody could be qualified, but if they take the time to read yours, your chance of getting it is now doubled.
Right.
Whether you were just as qualified as the last person. So I think that's another one of the big things. Like, I feel like when it comes to job and career, it's really like... it's like a really different kind of hustle, because it's almost like it's definitely a performance.
Yeah.
Like if you see actors, people getting on stage, when you're job hunting and when you're trying to follow your dreams, you're putting on that same performance.
Yes.
And as soon as you learn how to like act and play the part, like you can't be stopped.
Right. And that's what I do every day. Honestly, no, seriously. I just play my part. At the same time, it's like, when I'm outside of here, I'm not acting like this. Like, I don't give a fuck about y'all. If I see y'all in the street,
okay.
I probably won't even say hi to y'all. Like, I'm gonna keep it moving, But it's all about the performance. Like, just make them remember you, even if it's for your performance, because that can still help you get to wherever you want to go next.
Yeah, I feel like every time like I see like your new location, I'm like, okay, does she work there? But either way, I'm still like so happy that you were, you're clearly doing what you like.
Yeah.
And it's like there's not always going to be an immediate payoff, and it's just so good to see people doing something because they genuinely want to do it, and then when it pays off, you're like, okay,
Because trust me, y'all, it ain't paying off right now. Okay, it ain't. But keep hope alive. Okay.
Because I feel like people get what's the word, like, intimidated, I guess, by people who already have something established. And when they hear that, it just gives them more anxiety. Like, oh my gosh, this person is established. Like, how am I going to get there?
Yeah.
They're selling you a dream. But, like, I like talking to people who are, like, in the midst of their dream.
And I used to be one of those people that got anxiety. So I follow a lot of bloggers on Instagram. I follow a lot of stylists that are already up there, that are styling celebrities that I wish I could style, And I'd be like, oh, like, damn, like, where's my come up real quick? Make me want to rap real quick. But at the same time, I used to look at it like that, but now I look at it as a motivation to, like, I'm going to get there. I know I'm going to get there, and then I'm going to go past there. Like, you're there, but I'm going to go past you, regardless.
Because there's always going to be a need for more stylists. Different artists are going to be coming in. And that's the thing. Sometimes I'll be looking at a lot of artists like, who is their stylist? Because they need a new one.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and then who knows? Like, I say I want to do styling, but who knows where this is going to take me. Like, I don't know. I'm excited for the journey to find out where it will take me. I know where I want to go, but like I told you, people always think they know what they want when they come in a retail store, but no, you got to tell them. Like, they don't know until you give them what they want, and then they're like, oh yeah, that's what I wanted, and it applies to me too. Like, styling is what I want, but who knows? Who knows what's at the end of this road?
I know. Every time I think, that's why I can't really imagine my life. Like, I can't imagine my life 2 years from now, because I at least have to keep this job I got for 2 years.
Right. Yeah.
But like after that, I'm still like, I don't know what I'm gonna be doing. And every time I look at people who I want to be where they are.
Yeah.
A lot of times their positions didn't exist.
To all the listeners out there, seriously, if anybody is looking to like be a stylist assistant, it's full time. You have to go between Nordstrom at Pentagon City and Tyson's. Let T know to let me know, because they're hiring. Or follow me on Instagram.
Yeah, I'll put your like information in the show notes and stuff so people can see it.
Yeah, because they're hiring right now for that, because one of the assistants want to leave, and then they also is hiring for like sell support. Amen. So if anybody want to get a foot in the door.
But yeah, thanks.
Oh
You've given me a lot to work with because I have to edit this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You've given me a lot to work with. Thank you. Thanks everyone for listening. I hope this was thought-provoking. It gets your mind going on what your passions are. What are your passions? What are the passions of the people around you? And have you talked to them about it? Are you motivating them? Are they coming to you for help? Like, what's going on? But yeah, as always, thanks for listening. I don't have an ask. I just am thankful for you. So yeah, I'll see you next week.